Well, off the back of the end of last week in a pretty poor episode, losing quite a few games in a row here at Jahn Regensburg. Thankfully, we've been up on the poor team since then and still find ourselves just inside a European qualifying spot. Fingers crossed this time we can carry that form over against some teams who are actually half decent. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 62 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Jahn Regensburg. I hope you're doing well and coming up today. Got a big clash here in the Bundesliga, 7th versus 6th as we host Gladbach, and then we'll make our way forward a couple of days and host Bayern Munich in a DFB-Pokal Semi-Final. Can we beat them for the second time this season at home before we take them away in the Bundesliga and make our way through to a first cup final? So you guys are looking forward to those two games coming up in today's episode. But off back of the end of last week, which, as I mentioned during the brief intro, was not too good. Suffered a few poor defeats to Bayer Leverkusen, Eintracht Frankfurt, and between then to Borussia Dortmund as well. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Do think at some stage during the episode we also had a youth intake, which to be fair was one of our better ones here so far of the safe, considering that these days we're a Bundesliga club. Since then, thankfully, we've taken on some teams who are pretty rubbish. First up, picked up a 4-1 win there with the 4-3-3 as we took on Stuttgart. We did concede early to Wagnermann there for Stuttgart, but thankfully then got our act into gear, made it 1-1 before half-time thanks to Pavicic, and then really kicked away in the second half. Renee Malou for a double, and Dylan American did come off the bench and score a goal as well, did the American. We might need to start calling him American instead of Dylan American. That might be a bit easier with the pronunciation, but thankfully we pick up a 4-1 win and get back on track, and then we just do enough away from home there to pick up a 1-0 win over Hamburg thanks to a goal there at the hour mark to Levente Toff. So thankfully 6 points from 6 since July last year, and it does mean in terms of Bundesliga we just hold on to a top 7 spot, which should be good enough for us to qualify for the Conference League next season. But today's episode is going to be pretty blimmin' big, because first up we take on that Gladbach team who sit just inside. If we can pick up a win here, that would be pretty massive, because all the teams behind us that can catch us have already played. Would be really nice here if we could grab a gap on a team like RB Leipzig, because I dare say for the next episode, depending on what goes on with that DFB-Pokal Semi, if we make our way through to a final, we'll probably come back and include that Leipzig game, as they're a team that definitely could bump us out of a European qualifying spot. So this one coming up here at home against Gladbach is quite big. They do sit in 6th these days, have steadily made their way up the table during the course of the season. They're going quite deep in the Conference League. Looks like they made their way through the semis and they'll take on Fiorentina. And around that, their form actually not too bad. Did get beaten 3-0 by Leipzig a couple of games ago. To be fair, Leipzig these days, outside of Dortmund, probably one of the form teams here in the Bundesliga. And they did beat Bayern in between a couple of very comfy wins there over Braga in their Conference League quarterfinals. So these guys actually are in some quite good form. And also, you might have noticed before on the Bundesliga table, Bayern have been so average, they're already not going to be the champions. Borussia Dortmund, with 4 games left, a 15-point lead, they are the champions of the Bundesliga for our first season in it here in 2029-2030. So Pep, if we beat him second up in today's episode, might be facing the sack if he can't win a trophy, because already they've been knocked out of the Champions League by Barcelona. So fingers crossed there, we might get Pep the sack there, potentially second up in today's episode. But that definitely is something that's a bit unlikely, despite the fact we beat those guys early this season. A late red card, though, did help there to Kim and Jay. But first up, we've got Gladbach, albeit we have a few concerns going to this game. Tygo Land, one of our backup midfielders, a damaged elbow, and also there is a suspension to Lewis Walden. So because of that, and also the fact that Nur Lazar has not been in too good a form, you can see it there just above Lewis Walden, a 6.52 his last 5 games. We're going with something here a little bit crazy. I say crazy, it's not that crazy, because our analysts are going to trust them. One last time this season does recommend a 4-4-2, but this time it's a narrow diamond. So we're finally going to try out here a diamond with this Jahn Regensburg team. I'm not too sure if it suits us that much, because really our wingers are some of our better players here at Jahn Regensburg. Lazar's pretty good as that backup to Walden, and also we've got the likes now not in our squad of Tabukwia or American, who scored a couple of games ago Instead, we're going with 4 in midfield there. Lopez is a halfback, Manrique box-to-box alongside Ramsey as a central midfielder, and Kamara is the extra one coming in there for one of those winger roles there as an attacking midfielder on an attacking role. And also Buller gets one more chance to try himself as a deep-lying forward in a 2-striker system. Obviously, this one's going to be a little bit different instruction-wise to our other tactics. We're going quite narrow here with our width. And also, we're not going to focus down the flanks because obviously we've got no wingers. That would be dumb, and as well as that, we're doing low crosses because neither of our strikers are that good in the air. Apart from that, though, it's pretty similar to what we've been doing with our other 2 tactics, tempo, and all the other instructions. Let's see if a diamond might finally be the one that works for us here with a 4-4-2. If it does work, then Buller might actually not need to be sold going into the start of next season. Otherwise, yeah, he might be on the chopping block because really, that deep lying forward, I just can't make it work. But we'll see here how this goes. It's a big old risk, and honestly, I'm 90% sure it's not going to work. But just in case it does, it could be quite big in this game where we do host Gladbach, and a win, as I said, would be super nice. We'll see us jump above them into 6th spot, and more importantly, put a nice little gap there on RB Leipzig, which could be very important because our next Bundesliga game off the back of this one is away at Bayern Munich off the back of that DFB-Pokal Semi-Final. And then we do have that RB Leipzig team, and by that stage they could definitely get within reach of jumping above us if we drop points away at Bayern, which we might actually do because we're probably going to take that cup semi-seriously just in case we do drop out here of one of the European qualifying spots. Thankfully, we've at the moment got 2 bites at the cherry, try and make our way into Europe for next season. Bayern, they should be safe, even though it's quite tight there and behind Borussia Dortmund on that Bundesliga table. Definitely a big gap between about 1st and 11th, and then the rest of the teams in the Bundesliga. There's a big old gulf in quality between the teams behind Borussia Dortmund and those ones who can still qualify for Europe and the ones in a relegation race. Kind of feels like here currently there's 2 divisions in the Bundesliga. You can see it there, it's the top 11 teams, and below that, really, you play any of those teams, even in our form, and you should be thumping them. Thankfully, that's what we've just been able to do here in the second part of the season, albeit not before have we tried a narrow 4-4-2 diamond. So we'll see here how this goes. To be fair though, a very early highlight, can we finally get a 4-4-2 to work this time, going with a bit more of a narrow focus. We try and get on the attack there. Unfortunately, that pass does get cut out, but good work there from Manrique to get us on the ball. Playing today as a box-to-box midfielder is a bit more help than usual. Also quite keen to see how Lopez gets on as that halfback. It's definitely a role that I like. If you were here long enough ago, Pacific Heroes, our vertical tiki-taka with Volsunga, we won 5 Champions Leagues in a row with a system that did have a halfback, and a good chance there, no penalty, as someone went down, then a deflected shot off a teammate, but unfortunately it goes over the bar. But fair to say that's a bit more encouraging than what I've seen recently in some of these big games. So fingers crossed that continues here, albeit now I say that is Borussia Mönchengladbach who start to get on the front foot a little bit more, but so far not looking too bad here with this 4-4-2 diamond. Even though we've only seen one highlight, albeit now there is a corner here to Gladbach. The first shot gets blocked, but then Stefan Bajetic will put that one away. And I dare say he might have just stayed onside. Unfortunately, we'll just wait here for the VAR check, and maybe this diamond isn't forever, because that is a goal. It's a good save there from Lukic. Kamara tries to hit it clear, but unfortunately, straight into the path of Bajetic, and we go 1-0 down. And so far, Gladbach actually a super high shots to shots on target ratio, which is a concern. But thankfully, we now go down the other end. Aaron Ramsey will pick out big old Ruslan, our captain, who puts it away, and we make it 1-1. So thankfully, off the back of that good first highlight we saw, where unfortunately didn't quite pick up a goal. This time we do, and we make it 1-1. So thankfully, the diamond might kind of work. We score a goal here against a decent team, which definitely hasn't always been the case here in the second part of the season, albeit now Gladbach are back on the attack. But good header away there. That was from Hubner, and Manrique now starts to get us going for Muller. We'll play that one back there to Ramsey. Of course, he also has company today with Buller. Muller and Buller, let's see what they can do up front for us here in this game. But Ramsey is back on the ball. Ignatjev will pick out Dorna. Lovely first time finish, curves that one around the goalkeeper. A quick fire double, and this 4-4-2 diamond is actually looking quite good. Maybe should have tried this earlier if only our analysts said we should go for narrow diamond instead of a usual 4-4-2. A little bit earlier, but lovely first time finish there from Dawn Ruslan. A great first half. Now, just off the back of that, we'll cancel so we don't encourage. Instead, we'll try and praise here. Let's click on the right button. I berated. That has not gone well at all. That was a bit of a waste of time, but we do still have a 2-1 lead, and thankfully, hasn't actually affected our guys too badly in terms of their morale. Thankfully, can now pump them up here at halftime. But that was a pretty good first half, apart from the goal that we did concede. Huge XG from that there for Gladbach, where they did score through Stefan Bajetic, a player we previously had in the Red Bull Clockbot save. But that's a pretty good first half. Apart from that, we bounce back and take a 2-1 lead into halftime. So fingers crossed there, we can hold on and pick up a big 3 points. The first time we took these guys on this season, it was a 1-0 loss away from home with a 4-3-3. That was game right off the back of the winter break. So this time going with a different formation. Big chance though here for Gladbach off the back of the restart, but thankfully that one hits the woodwork. So maybe today luck might be on our side with this change here of formation, because it's fair to say our regular ones, the 4-3-3 and the 4-2-3-1, have been pretty average ever since the winter break. Not necessarily against the poor teams, but in these games where we take on the teams around us. And now highlight, and we eventually find Jimenez in some space here down our right-hand side. Buller lets off a wonderful shot, but unfortunately, it's just got a bit too much on it, and it comes off the crossbar. In fact, a little touch on that from the Borussia Mönchengladbach goalkeepers. A big chance for us there. And now Ruslan from the corner. Another big save there from the Gladbach goalkeeper. Unfortunately, a back pass there, so I dare say this highlight might get cut out soon. And indeed it does. But a really good chance for us there to make it 3-1. Can't quite take it. And now we're going to take off one of our goal scorers in away dawn for Lino Sousa. To be fair, on attack out left, could have a fair bit of fun with this diamond that we're playing. He might enjoy the system a bit more than some of our other players. Now another change at wingback. Obviously, you expect your wingbacks in the system to get a bit more tired than with the systems that we have wingers in, because they don't have any support out wide. So that makes sense, those two subs that we've done so far. Now a looping header from Rawlins, but unfortunately that one does go over the bar. So not quite putting these guys away here where we've got the chance. Unfortunately, Lino Sousa has picked up a yellow card, which might be a little bit of a concern. Only about 15 minutes left here. It is Gladbach who have a throw, but thankfully loose touch there, and the Australian Joshua Rawlins can win that one back for us. But unfortunately, we hoof it deep, and it is Gladbach here who start to be on the attack through the goal scorer and Bajetic. A bit of a foul on him there from Jahn Regensburg. It's not blown up, and we get the wall back there through Lino Sousa. This could be controversial because Bajetic here is still on the ground. We find Sousa and a ton of space there out left. What can he do? Takes his time around the ball, pulls it back to Aaron Ramsey, who'll drill that one into the bottom right corner. Hold on, I'm calling my mum. I've got a 4-4-2 to work. Let me just dial the number here. Where are you, mum? What's the phone number in Rarotonga? Because you're on your birthday and you didn't invite me. I'm going to annoy you now because I'm winning an FM game with a 4-4-2, and I'm actually pretty proud of it because we've been trying this all season and it hasn't worked. As you're going to pick up, I actually don't know the time difference between New Zealand and Rarotonga, so that could be a little bit of an issue. Now we need to actually make a sub here. Carlos Manrique coming off for Zeno Schneier. It's gone to voicemail, so she probably copped a little bit of that absolute random rambling. Enjoy your holiday that I didn't get invited on. Cheers for that, Mum, your 60th birthday. Hope you're having fun if you're watching my videos, which you're definitely not, but we do have a 3-1 lead here, so a good chance for us to make some subs. Pavicic can come on there at centre back, and also let's bring on here Toff for Muller, seeing as he's going a bit fairly. And I think that's about it, considering we took off the wingbacks there a little bit earlier. But now thrown here for Mönchengladbach, and that's super soft at the back. Maybe I shouldn't have celebrated so soon, because we might be bottling this like we tend to do here the second half of the season at Jahn Regensburg. And unfortunately, he did just stay on sides of back here to a 1-goal margin. Thankfully, Ramsey has scored that goal. Otherwise, that would be a leveler. Not too sure there how Funkara has stayed on side, but apparently he has 3 good bodies there who should be helpful in hitting the ball away, but they're not. So not too sure what's gone on there with our defence. Both goals we've conceded so far been a little bit average in the air. To be fair, the first one, at least Lukic did come up with a save, but now with just under 10 minutes left, it's time here to time waste just a little bit and see if that might slow up here Borussia Mönchengladbach and make sure we can hold on. But as I said before the game, 3 pretty big points, and now only 5 minutes left. Time for us here to fully time waste. Let's see if we can actually pick up 3 points in a big game for the first time in a long time, and also for the first time in a really long time, 3 straight wins in the Bundesliga as well. So let's hope here we can hold on, because Gladbach are on the attack from a highlight as we're about to do super time wasty stuff. Unfortunately, had the ball cleared away, and Gladbach do get back on the attack, and they're going to flow a ball here into the mixer like they did before for that second goal. Thankfully this time we headed away. Alvedi will play that one back there to Koza, who is at the back. They loop the ball over the top there. For some reason, Buller can't quite win the race to that ball, and they're back on the attack there. Lukic thankfully scrambles that one away. For some reason, Toff doesn't challenge for the ball, but that highlight does come to an end. So thankfully, that was just a highlight there, I think, to scare us. But Lukic on a pretty good rating here in this game, which is quite nice to see. Our goalkeepers of late have not been the best here at Jahn Regensburg, but I've picked up a win with a 4-4-2. That might be my proudest win so far of this save, because seriously, we've been trying a third tactic at times, and it really hasn't worked. Finally, we get one that does. I'm not too sure how often we're going to use it, but stats-wise, despite that high XG there for Borussia Mönchengladbach, I actually think we kind of deserve that win. So that might be a little bit of a secret weapon for us if we need it late on this season to try and hold on to one of those European qualifying spots. To be fair, that win could be super important in that race for that Conference League qualifying spot, because now we're actually in Europa League 1 as we jump above Gladbach and move up to 6th off the back of that 3-2 win with a good old 4-4-2 diamond. So a massive win for us first up there in today's episode, picking up 3 wins straight for the first time in a long time here since early February in the save, and definitely for the first time in a long time in the Bundesliga, moving up to 6th. But now we switch our attention to the DFB-Pokal Semi-Final. If we get through this, we'll play the winner of Leipzig and Schalke. I dare say on form, that's probably RB Leipzig doing a little bit better than Schalke in the Bundesliga, in that top division, while Schalke in that kind of rubbish relegation division. Their form actually a little bit more mixed than I thought, but they did just beat Bayern 2-1. That was the result that wrapped up the title for Borussia Dortmund. So probably not the team you want to take on at the moment. You might actually want to take on this Bayern Munich team, who have just dropped the title, and honestly their recent form is pretty bad off the back of that 2-1 loss to Leipzig and the defeats to Barcelona and Gladbach as well. We've just beaten Gladbach, albeit with a diamond apparently for Bayern Munich. This time we want to go with the good old 4-3-3, and to be fair, it's probably been a little bit better than our 4-2-3-1 off the back of the winter break, so I don't mind that switch. And also, it should suit quite nicely considering that we can put out a full strength 11 despite that game we've just played. But the return of Walden from that suspension to Borussia, who sat out that previous game because there was no role for him if we use Diamond, should mean that we've got quite a bit of fitness there with some of our better players on the wing. So fingers crossed here, going back to the 4-3-3 does work, and we can pick up a win over Bayern Munich. Just one change to our regular best 11 here with this shape, and it's the cup goalkeeper Bjorn Tore Lingvar comes in for Onion Lukic. And to be fair, average rating actually not too bad. So hopefully Lingvar doesn't let us down like he did in that Augsburg draw we had a couple of episodes ago, because that did feel like a bit of a blemish on him. He did boot it deep a couple of times, and unfortunately he really shouldn't have, because we're telling our goalkeepers here to pass the ball out short. He didn't in that game in particular, and it felt like it cost us a good 3 points in that one. We actually looked quite good with the 4-3-3 in that game. Fingers crossed today we can look something similar, albeit against a team who are no doubt a lot better, even though Pep is trying his best to ruin them and have them play like robots. It doesn't look like it suits here with this Bayern Munich team, because they're well off Borussia Dortmund, actually struggling to even finish second in this Bundesliga. So hopefully here can find a way to knock out Pep. Surely if we do, he won't be there at Bayern next season, and maybe that's something we'll have to consider during the course of the off-season. I actually put my phone away now. I haven't done that off the back of that random message I've left my mum during the course of that previous game. I wonder if she even knows what a 4-4-2 diamond is, being a New Zealand mother. Not too sure if that's something that every New Zealander knows. I imagine all English mothers will know what a 4-4-2 diamond is. Not too sure about people here in the Southern Hemisphere from a rugby playing country, but Harry Kane here is on the ball early with a free kick, but thankfully that one goes just over in this game. He might still hate winning trophies, so thankfully Harry Kane's allergic to them, it looks like, and can't put that free kick on target. We make our way, though, just shy of 15 minutes into this game, but Bayern Munich, as you probably expect here, are all over us early. Let's see, though, if we can find a way to upset them, but early does look like Bayern here might be a bit annoyed by the fact they're not winning the Bundesliga this season, and they've just lost to the energy drink team. But thankfully, we win that ball there down our right-hand side. Going to try here and make our way out from back, but Bayern are putting us here under a fair bit of pressure. And Manrig, that's poor from him. Evan Ferguson, they signed him for £170 million back in January, does get on the ball. So that sort of shows the difference in the financial muscle. Musiala, though, is on the ball there down the right-hand side. Thankfully, tries to curve that one top right corner. And just like Harry Kane, he can't keep it down. So Bayern are all over us early. But to be fair at the moment, we're not doing too badly. We're holding on and haven't conceded. And sometimes with our Buxton-based styles here, that's all we need to do. We can usually kick into gear around the half-hour mark, and indeed, that's we're on the ball here for the first time in this game in a threatening situation. Munrik there pulls it back for Lopez. We'll pick out Walden back in the team from that suspension, who beats Diaz at his near post. And for the second time this season, we've got a lead over Bayern Munich. This time, it's a lot earlier than it was the last time around. Fingers crossed we can hold on to it and knock these guys out of the DFB-Pokal, because that would be all sorts of funny. A good finish there from Walden, first time with, I believe that was his left foot, and we take a 1-0 lead with our first attack of the game, which is blooming hilarious. Can we finally start to string some form together here with this Jahn Regensburg team late this season? It would be a heck of a time to do it, just as we're starting to drift outside of a European qualifying spot. A free kick for Bayern. Also, did just notice there to Berkweer, his heart dropped down to a little bit of a red one, so maybe going to have to take him off here at half-time. But Lingvar pumps that one deep. Thankfully, we actually get the ball back there through Walden, and now spread out to our left-hand side. Dawn is on the ball, plays that one all the way back there to Hubner, just gets it back. Thankfully, that pass is just on the money, and actually looking quite threatening here late on in this half. Lewis Walden gets that one from Ramsey and puts it away. Hopefully, he stayed on side. To my eye, it looked pretty good. Let's just see, though, if VAR agrees. I'm hopeful this one might get awarded and we grab a cushion goal lead. No, we don't. We can have nice things here in the save when we take on Bayern Munich. Can't get a 2-goal lead, and that is very debatable. It's probably right. Not sure if the lines are too accurate. It looks like his front foot might be in front there of the defender. But yeah, that's a bit frustrating. It's a close call. Doesn't go away. Thankfully, there's praise at the right time and cut out what looked like it might be a corner or a free kick to Super Bayern. And we've got a 1-0 lead over them with our one shot in that first half that didn't get ruled out for offsides. Thankfully, are finishing a lot better here than Harry Kane and Jamal Musiala in the first half. And we've got a 1-0 lead. At the moment, Berkweer is doing okay, so we'll actually leave him out there. He did at some stage, though, go down with a little bit of a deep red heart, so maybe we have to take him off here at some stage during the second 45 minutes. But so far, I'm pretty happy with how this is going. We've got a 1-goal lead, and arguably, it could have been 2. So fingers crossed here, we can put the foot down and actually grab a cushion goal. But now the hour mark, it's Alex Jimenez going a bit fairly on a 6.4, so we'll take him off there for Rawlins, and also Schneier can come on for Manrik, who's also sitting on a bit of a fair rating of a 6.4, and those two are probably going to get quite tired quite shortly as well off the back of that Gladbach game. So those two subs might not be the worst, but it is Bayern here on the ball from this first highlight of the second half. But thankfully, Dawn gets it back for us, and Ramsey will play that one in field there to Muller. It goes back out there to Berkweer, and he actually cooks his man there down that left-hand side. Nice square there for Muller. It comes off the woodwork, and then Ramsey can't quite put that one away. That definitely should have been a second goal. Are we going to rue those chances? Because now we've got an injury to Berkweer. We'll take him off to play things safe American. I think he dropped down, as I mentioned before, to red hard in that first half anyway, so probably not the worst idea to get him off early. And also, Kamara for Ramsey dropping down to a red hard as well, so it means one more sub I've got left here in this game. But we're looking quite threatening to actually pick up here a win, but fingers crossed can find a way to make it 2-0. But now it's away Dawn who drops down to a red heart. Lino Sousa can count on for him with our final sub. Do like that. Both our wing backs now are quite fresh, so fingers crossed there they can help us hold on and pick up a big result, albeit now it's a set piece here. Bayern take this one edge of the box, but O'Lees will put that one just over the bar. So thankfully Bayern are not too accurate here with their shots so far in this game. And now it's time for us to start doing some time-wasting things. Can we hold on and do something very, very funny and make sure Bayern get 0 trophies this season? Albeit I say that, it might actually be won because the Super Cup at the start of the season. But unfortunately, a corner there, we don't make the most of it, and Bayern actually get a good chance here on the counter-attack. Oh, what is Lingvar doing, you absolute Norwegian mug? They might be allergic to trophies too, because Erling Haaland, he doesn't win too many with the national team, and our goalkeeper is an absolute moron again. He's done a sliding tackle. I'm pretty sure the ball was inside the box here. I'm not even sure how we got in this situation from a corner that we had, but Ferguson, he just needs to pick up the ball. Ole gets it and puts it with a deflection into an open net. Here's our goalkeeper cost us a chance at a DFB-Pokal Final. Knowing FM now, Bayern Munich will probably go and score a second goal because we can't have nice things. That is a big miss for us there, that effort from Lingvar. And sure enough, in the 89th minute, they've got a corner. They're doing some weird stuff here on the edge of the box, some very weird stuff. They eventually get a shot off. How's that not being blocked there? And Kim Min-jae makes up for the red card in the league game earlier this season and makes it 2-1. I feel robbed at the moment. Those are some pretty cheesy goals that we've just conceded, but now it's time for us here to go a bit more attacking. What we might actually do is switch to the 4-2-3-1, not that the 4-3-3 was going too poorly, but let's just see if a few more attacking positions here we can use with this 4-2-3-1 might help us grab an equaliser and somehow take this one to extra time. Also go higher tempo and a bit wider with our attack, be more expressive and distribute quickly from our goalkeeper, who's definitely turned the tide of this game in favour of Bayern Munich with that stupid slide tackle inside his own box. Just catch the ball, you Norwegian. That's why you got gloves on. You're supposed to use your hands. But no, he was an idiot, and from there, Bayern have now scored 2 goals. Not really too sure how he's picked out that top right corner from that angle with those bodies in his way, but he has done that. Not too sure how that's actually physically possible to get in at that height while not hitting a defender, but apparently it is. We make our way through 5 minutes of added time. I am gutted by that because for a long time it looked like that strike from Walden at the half-hour mark would be enough to see us through. But for the second season in a row, our backup goalkeeper is an absolute howler there, and it's cost us in the DFB Pokal in this season. It's a bit harder to swallow because it was in a semi-final and we could have helped Bayern not win a proper trophy this season. So that is really annoying. Pep Guardiola just pinches that one off us there late as they pick up 2 goals inside the last 10 minutes and grab a 2-1 win. And yeah, I'm pretty filthy on that. I thought that we might actually start to find some consistent form late on in this season off the back of that win with the Diamond. Maybe should have stuck with it, but really, that wasn't too bad a performance considering it's against Bayern Munich. In the end, though, RB Leipzig might have been one step too far in the final off the back of that 6-1 pounding of Schalke in the other semi-final. But I'm pretty dark off the back of that one and that effort from Lingvar in goal. Big turning point. We go from a 1-0 lead to losing 2-1 in the DFB Pokal Semi. So yeah, feeling a little bit robbed there off the back of that second game of today's episode. Felt like we had that one pretty well under control off the back of that goal we scored at the half-hour mark through Lewis Walden. Unfortunately, had some chances to make it 2-0 and couldn't quite get it done. Guardiola doesn't want to use the referees as an excuse. I don't know if it was the referees, mate. It was probably my goalkeeper that helped you guys out. Berkey is injured 6 to 8 days, so unfortunately he's going to be missing for the rematch away from home in the league, which now might be quite tough. I imagine dynamics have not been helped by that, to be fair. Not as bad as I thought they'd be off the back of a cup semi-loss, but away from home, that might be tough, especially with most of these guys being played back-to-back games. So that might be a little bit of a one that we can't get much out of. So maybe that win over Gladbach was actually super important. Thankfully, though, we get 2.5 million for that semi-final appearance, but definitely feels like they're a missed chance to make a DFB Pokal final, which would have been against Leipzig, but still would have been quite nice to give ourselves a chance there to pick up a cup, seeing as before then our run to the semi have been pretty kind, but unfortunately finally take on a decent team and we get done late through some rather average work there from this fella, who I'm not sure I can trust ever again. He's supposed to be quite good, but he might just be another Leon Herdez. So unfortunately, that will do it for today's episode. Really good win over Gladbach, where we trade out the diamond, but this fella kind of costs us as we bottle that lead against Bayern in the cup semi. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now, what we come back for tomorrow, we've not got a cup final, unfortunately. I was thinking we might be for a little bit. So I think now with only 4 games left this season, what we do is wrap it up in tomorrow's episode. We'll probably skip Bayern, short backup away from home. That's looking like a loss unless we somehow get revenge there for that spree business late on in that cup semi. We'll definitely come back for the Leipzig game and hopefully can pick up a result there. And then the last 2 games of the season do look a bit easier against teams in that sort of bottom division who do tend to suck. So fingers crossed we still sit inside of a European qualifying spot off the back of that Leipzig game, and we can hold on to it and finish our first season up in the Bundesliga with at least some Conference League football for our second one here in the top 5 of Germany if we don't get pinched during the course of the off-season. So we'll come back tomorrow and wrap up our first season here in the top 5 with Jahn Regensburg, fingers crossed, can hold on and qualify for at least the Conference League. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.